Because of that victory, we were able to get peace in the Middle East. If you had a different kind of a personality, if you had a weak person or a stupid person, and there are plenty of both of them, you would not have had success, and you might not have Israel. And you report for Israel. I know you're very proud of it, and you do a great job. You might not have a job because there might not be an Israel right now if you had a different prime minister. That's a big statement, but to me it's a very simple statement to make. I'm looking at Pete Hegseth, and he's sort of nodding. If they don't have a strong prime minister, Pete, you might not have Israel today. I think he'll go down in the record books. And, you know, I was a big help. I'll be honest with you, big help. Somebody said in the room, if you don't have Trump, you needed a proper combination of everything. And if you didn't have that combination, which they had, you would not have an existing Israel right now. And the people of Israel know it. That's why they like me, and it's why they actually like him. He's got a little bit of a love-hate more than I do over there. But you know what? Even the haters have a lot of respect for him. There's a lot of jealousy about him. A lot of jealousy. Jealousy is a bad word. But I believe you would not have Israel right now, so it's a big deal. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, a recent poll showed that as many as half of Gazans would be willing to leave the Gaza Strip if afforded the opportunity to do so. Back in February, you said that all Gazans should be resettled.
I heard that number today, half of Gaza would leave. I've always said it. I said if they were given the opportunity to live in a better climate, they would move. They're there because they sort of have to be. I think it would be a great opportunity, but let's see if that opportunity presents itself. But we're helping the people of Gaza a lot. So is Israel, by the way. So we'll see what happens. But I saw that there was a poll. It was actually more than half the people would leave if they were given the opportunity. And I've been saying that for a long time. To me, it was common sense. So it's interesting.
Why wouldn't countries accept them?
Look, let's not talk about it because we don't want the controversy. Right now we're helping Gaza. But if they were given the opportunity, I think even higher than that, the group that did the poll is usually, I call them negative pollsters. You have a lot of them. And yet this poll was, I think, very accurate, other than it would be more than half the people if given the opportunity, but they haven't been given that opportunity. So we'll see what happens.
Mr. President, did you reach a point of understanding regarding Syria?
We do have an understanding regarding Syria. Now, with Syria, you know, your new president, I respect him. He's a very strong guy, and that's what you need in Syria. You can't put a choir boy. You can't put somebody that's a perfect person. Everything's nice, no problems in life. You have the opposite there. He's a strong guy. We get along with him great. I can't ask for any more. He's been with us all the way. We had that mishap with ISIS, and he was with us all the way. He was fighting us. You know, he was fighting them. So I hope Israel. I'm sure that Israel and him will get along. I will try and make it so that they do get along.
Mr. President,
I think they will. Bibi, do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, well, our interest is to have a peaceful border with Syria. Our interest is to have, and we openly say it, we want to make sure that the border area right next to our border is safe. We don't have terrorists, we don't have attacks, and we also want to secure our Druze friends. And by the way, I think not only the Druze, but other minorities, especially the Christians, should be protected as well in Syria and throughout the Middle East and in Nigeria. In your efforts, we back completely because Christian communities are beleaguered around the world and especially in the Middle East, but in parts of Africa too. And we stand for the same thing.
And don't forget, it was President Erdogan that helped very much get rid of a very bad ruler of Syria. That was President Erdogan. And he never wanted the credit for it, but he really gets a lot of credit. Bibi agrees with that. I agree with. I mean, I know it. And President Erdogan should.
IC countries, including Pakistan, has unequivocally rejected Israel's unlawful move, noting its serious repercussions for peace and security in the Horn of Africa, the Red Sea region, and international peace and security as a whole. The joint statement terms the recognition of parts of states a violation of the cardinal principles of international law and the United Nations Charter. Mr. President, These developments are especially alarming at a time when Somalia is demonstrating encouraging and tangible progress on its political and institutional trajectory. The federal government of Somalia, under the forward-looking vision and leadership of President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, has made notable strides in national reconciliation, constitutional reform, and the revitalization of state institutions. Positive trends in the financial sector, particularly the efforts related to economic legislation and preparations for inclusive one-person, one-vote elections, represent important steps towards consolidating Somalia's democracy and stability. Similarly, the phased 2-year transition of the United Nations presence in Somalia is progressing smoothly. The handover of responsibilities under the first phase of the United Nations Transitional Assistance Mission in Somalia completed, and the roadmap for the second and final phase has been finalized, with the mission scheduled to cease operations on 31st October 2026. These gains reflect a Somali-owned, Somali-led trajectory towards political reconciliation and state building. This positive momentum must be protected and reinforced, not undermined by actions that risk fragmenting the country and reversing hard-won progress. Pakistan also acknowledges the sacrifices and resilience of the Somali people and its security forces, supported by UN, AU missions, in confronting the persistent threat posed by Al-Shabaab and its affiliates. Continued predictable support for Somalia's security sector and stabilization efforts remain indispensable for preserving the hard-won gains against terrorism. Therefore, at this pivotal juncture, when Somalia is focused on defeating extremism, any action that diverts attention, weakens cohesion, or fuels division is profoundly irresponsible. Mr. President, against the backdrop of Israel's previous references to Somaliland of the Federal Republic of Somalia as a destination for the deportation of Palestinian people, especially from Gaza, its unlawful recognition of Somaliland region of Somalia is deeply troubling. For decades, Israel's dispossession and occupation of Palestinian land have been a central source of instability and conflict in the Middle East. It is now exporting this destabilizing conduct to the Horn of Africa, with serious implications for regional peace and security. Pakistan unequivocally rejects any proposals or plans aimed at the forced displacement of Palestinians. Security Council Resolution 2803 endorsed President Trump's comprehensive plan to end the Gaza conflict, which unequivocally states, I quote, "No one will be forced to leave Gaza," unquote. Any actions that advocate or imply displacement or resettlement not only violate international law, but also undermine the prospect of a just and lasting peace. We reaffirm our steadfast support for the Palestinian people in their legitimate struggle for self-determination. The only path to lasting peace and stability lies in the realization of an independent, contiguous, and sovereign state of Palestine on pre-1967 borders, with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital. In conclusion, Mr. President, Pakistan calls upon the Security Council and the broader international community to speak with one voice and reject all actions that undermine Somalia's unity and territorial integrity. On our part, we remain firmly and resolutely committed to standing with the government and people of Somalia in the country's march towards peace and prosperity. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Pakistan for the statement, and I give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
President, we thank Assistant Secretary General Khalid Kiari for his briefing.
अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा की सलामती काउंसिल का इजलास पाकिस्तानी सिफारतकार की गुफ्तगू। उन्होंने कहा कि इसराइल की जानिब से सोमाली लैंड को आज़ाद तस्लीम करने का ऐलान मुस्तरद करते हैं। उन्होंने मज़ीद कहा कि सोमालिया की खुद मुख्तारी और सालमियत की मुकम्मल हिमायत करते हैं। पाकिस्तान फ़लस्तीनी अवाम की बेदखली की किसी भी कोशिश को मुस्तरद करता है। और दूसरी जानिब अमरीकी सदर डोनाल्ड ट्रंप और नेतन्याहू इस वक्त प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रहे हैं।
Question to Prime Minister Netanyahu. Do you see a real opportunity that the PA will be in Gaza?
Go ahead, baby.
I think President Trump put clearly the conditions of reform that he wants to see in the PA for them to be involved. And I think he put it very clearly what he wants to see, the kind of real reforms, not just perfunctory reforms, but real reforms. Stop pay to slay, change the curriculum in your textbooks, open up, a different society and a different future if they do it.
So it's not in the near future?
Well, let them, I think it was clear. He put
pretty clear.
He put guidelines that were, by the way, in the Trump plan of 2020. And they were put then in the 20 points. And it's up to them.
Remember this, if we didn't do what we did to Iran, just to make the subject just slightly different, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. You wouldn't have a deal signed in the Middle East. You wouldn't have a deal. Because other Arab nations, which are great people, I know them very well, they're great people, they wouldn't be able to have agreed to peace in the Middle East because you would have had a dark cloud hanging over everything. It wouldn't have been possible. So Iran has been greatly reduced in power, prestige. I don't want to use the word humiliation because, they're trying to build up again. But we can't let them build up because if they build up, there can't be peace in the Middle East. It was a mistake. When they wiped out Iraq and Iran were about the same power. And they fought each other with different names for 1,000 years. And then our country came out and blew up one of those two countries, namely Iraq. And all of a sudden, Iran had the whole Middle East all to itself. But that's not true anymore. That's not true anymore.
Can you tell us something about your
Say
plan?
it?
Tell us something about your plan to expand the Abraham Accords. If you can tell us something about your plan to expand the Abraham Accords.
Well, the Abraham Accords are a great achievement of Jared and everybody. I mean, it was one of the great achievements. They'll be expanded. Countries are already talking about expanding it, and they'll be expanded fairly quickly. Yeah, please.
What about Saudi Arabia? Is it still on the table? The normalization?
Saudi Arabia is great. We have a great leader, and a friend of mine and a friend of a lot of people. Also an enemy of some people, but those people aren't doing so well. No, Saudi Arabia has been very good as far as I'm concerned. They've done everything that we can ask for.
But normalization with Israel is on the table?
They're getting along great with Israel. They will. And at some point, they'll sign the Abraham Accords.
Mr. President, on the Fed, so one of the big domestic tasks ahead of you is to pick a new chairman for the Fed.
Yeah.
You've said that you have one favorite, but you're
I
also
do.
doing interviews.
Still do. Hasn't changed. Yeah, I'll announce them at the right time. There's plenty of time.
But
in the meantime, we're doing numbers that nobody's ever seen. We have $18 trillion coming in. We had a 4.3% GDP. They thought it was going to be 2%. And that's despite the Democrat shutdown. Had the shutdown not occurred, we would have had an extra 1.25. Think of that. We are doing, and also despite the fact that we have a fool at the Federal Reserve. I mean, Biden reappointed him, and it's too bad. You would have thought he wouldn't have done that. But he's an absolute fool who's building a new Federal Reserve, or he's doing a renovation of a building. Maybe he's up to $4.1 billion to do a renovation of a few very small buildings. It's the highest price in the history of construction. He's spending more money than any building has ever spent per square foot on the renovation of, as an example, I'm doing a magnificent, big, beautiful ballroom that the country has wanted, the White House has wanted for 150 years. It's a massive job, and it's a tiny fraction of that number. And we're under budget and ahead of schedule. Now it's bigger than I told you. After realizing we're going to do the inauguration in that building, it's got all bulletproof glass. It's got all drone. They call it drone-free roof. So drones won't touch it. It's a big, beautiful, safe building. But it's a big project for a tiny fraction of that. We're under budget and ahead of schedule, and they've wanted it for 150 years. Think of it: the Federal Reserve building, 2 buildings there. They don't know what they're doing. They're way over budget. I mean, almost. This was built during the Biden administration. And I rode by it the other day, and it's headed by the head of the Federal Reserve. Too late, too late, Powell. Too late because he's always too late with interest rates, except before the election he was too early because that would have helped. That was supposed to help get her elected. It had no impact. We won all 7 swing states.
So what do you think
But no. We're thinking about bringing a suit against Powell for incompetence. Because think of it, these aren't outstanding buildings. These are small buildings. He's at $4 billion more. It's going to end up costing more than $4 billion. $4 billion. It's the highest price.
अमरीकी सदर की नेतन्याहू के हमरा प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस। अमरीका इसराइल का साथ देता रहेगा, सदर ट्रंप की जानिब से ऐसा कहा गया है, जबकि नेतन्याहू ने कहा है कि मशरिक़ वस्ता से मुतालिक सदर ट्रंप से तामीरी बात हुई है। अमरीका ने हमारे लिए जो कुछ किया उसके शुक्रगुजार हैं।
And it was his baby, and the guy's just incompetent. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. He's just a very incompetent man, but we're going to probably bring a lawsuit against him. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Bibi, congratulations.
Mr. President, when do you expect an announcement then on Powell's replacement?
January sometime.
And will you ask Jay Powell to resign?
Well, he should resign.
Entirely?
It'll be a favor to the nation. But he's come close. I mean, we're getting pretty close. I would fire him. I'd love to fire him, but we're so close. Maybe I still might.
Will you sell an F-35 to the Turkey?
Say it.
Are you going to?
अमरीकी सदर की नेतन्याहू के हमरा प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस। डोनाल्ड ट्रंप ने कहा कि अमरीका इसराइल का साथ देता रहेगा। नेतन्याहू ने कहा कि मशरिक़ वस्ता से मुतालिक सदर ट्रंप से तामीरी बात हुई है। अमरीका ने हमारे लिए जो कुछ किया उसके शुक्रगुजार हैं। हमने आज हमास को गैर मुसल्लह करने पर बात की है। सदर ट्रंप की जानिब से ऐसा कहा गया, अगर हमास गैर मुसल्लह नहीं हुई तो सख्ती से निपटेंगे। मगरबी किनारे के मामले पर इसराइल से 100% मुत्तफिक नहीं। शाम के साथ पुरअमन और महफूज सरहद चाहते हैं। तेहरान के साथ बातचीत के लिए तैयार हैं। अमरीकी सदर ने ऐसा भी कहा, ईरान शायद गलत रवैया इख्तियार कर रहा हो, लेकिन ये अभी तक साबित नहीं हो सका। अब्राहम माहदे को मज़ीद तौसी देंगे। किसी न किसी मरहले पर सऊदी अरब इब्राहिम माहदे पर दस्तखत कर देगा।